Can I ask you your immediate reaction to the idea that now there is a potential line to the office of the presidency?
Well, it's big news. I mean, I don't know. I think it's tough right now to surmise where this goes from here. This is kind of news we're all getting. He's admitted to lying to the FBI. Michael Flynn, I admire his service to his country for many years in the military, but I was always concerned when he was appointed early on that there were some issues there. Same with Paul Manafort. Now, both of these are obviously under some kind of an indictment now in a plea deal. And so it'll be interesting to see where this goes long term. When it talks about, we're hearing at least word that he's going to maybe testify to this Russia issue. The question is, was it just, hey, reach out to the Russians because, we may have some diplomacy we need to do, or is it something else? We don't know that. This is definitely newsworthy, but I think we need to be careful to jump to, what is step 2, 3, and 4 here.
Not just newsworthy, but what sort of ammunition does this add to Mr. Mueller's investigation?
Well, I've always said that the investigation should go forward. We should get all the answers in a system where we hold all elected officials accountable. We need answers to what happened. Part of the problem with a special counsel investigation is, well, it's probably a good thing, we don't know everything that's going on, and we have to be patient and let that process take place. When we have bits of information that come out or actions like today with General Flynn, it's obviously definitely newsworthy, and we can kind of play the what-if game here, but I think Special Counsel Mueller is doing his job, and we're going to get answers when all is said and done.
What do you want to learn?
Well, I just want to know the truth. I mean, it really comes down to, I like the policies of President Trump.
What does it take to get to the truth?
I think it takes the investigator, the special investigation, to continue forward. And it seems like he's doing that. He's talking to people. He's finding out what all went on. That's what the American people want. That's what Republicans want. That's what Democrats want. So I think we're going to get there. The problem is, again, in every play-by-play, it's easy to jump to what does this mean, and there's nothing wrong with speculating. But I also think we need to be patient, let this process continue, and we'll get answers.
Sure. Now, if, a transition official told, Michael Flynn what to say to Russian contacts and to find out how the Security Council at the United Nations was going to vote, for example, what would that make you say, Representative? What kind of leadership would that be for our country?
Well, I try to hesitate to get into the what-if games when we don't know. What if this, this?
Well, we do actually. At this point, we do know this. This is what he was telling the FBI.
So I guess I don't know because it's all breaking news. I know that, he's going to testify to that extent. I just don't know the details. But regardless, I think what I don't know is it, hey, reach out to the Russians because when we're president, we're going to have some diplomacy to do in the Middle East. I think the Russians are a very caustic country. I think they're, trying to destroy Eastern Europe, rebuild the old Soviet Empire. However, a president in diplomacy has a right to reach out to our adversaries. Was it that, or was it something else? And that I don't think we know yet. And if we do, it hasn't been anything I've been told yet.
So you would make a major distinction if it was a casual remark where the president said, ask them not to escalate things, if we impose sanctions or if we continue sanctions. That, to you, would not be a major deal?
It's, again, without knowing all the details, it's tough to tell. I think a president, and even a president-elect, has a right to kind of reach out, not to violate the current president's diplomacy. There's a very big difference there. As President Obama was in and President Trump was president-elect, don't usurp American foreign policy during that moment, during that time. But to reach out and say, hey, when President Trump is sworn in, maybe we can work together on this issue. I disagree with that because personally I think you can't trust the Russians. However, that's details we need. And so, I just don't think we know that yet. I'm sure we'll find out pretty soon.
Speaking of, matters of state, it looks like there's a lot of question marks over our current Secretary of State and whether he'll stay in that position. What would you make of a change in that particular position right now if one were to come?
Well, I like Rex Tillerson. I think he's been a good Secretary of State. It's a very complicated world, and I think he's done as good of a job probably as any Secretary of State could. I also happen to know Mike Pompeo. I sat with him in the Energy and Commerce Committee for a long time. We have talked, when he was in the House, a lot about foreign policy issues. If, in fact, this is it, we don't know that this is going to happen, but if that's the speculation, I think Mike Pompeo would be a fantastic Secretary of State. I know his foreign policy. I know the fact that he loves foreign policy-related issues, and I think he'd be phenomenal. If, in fact, that's true. Again, we haven't had a confirmation yet.
The repercussions of Mr. Flynn's case, what does this mean for Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who's also accused of lying about his contacts with Russian officials?
You know, I don't know. I don't know what it means ultimately. Again, this is. I know there's a lot of hunger to say, and it's fine to speculate, but there's a lot of hunger to say, what does this mean? As an elected official and somebody that's, you know, very seriously taking these accusations, I think it's incumbent on me and others, including my friends on the other side of the aisle, to not jump to conclusions, to let this process play out. I know we want the answers now. I think we're going to get answers someday. And so for me, as somebody that has to take this very seriously, that's where I'm at.